Keara Fraser is Tisue Podcast guest number 3. KB is one of, if not the most natural leaders and hardest working people I have ever encountered. We discuss what elements make people so willing to work for her. As a member of her facility, I see people willingly work themselves to death to accomplish the things that she requests. They all do it willingly, and she helps them in any way that she can. I'd like to say that Keara reminds me of myself when I was an air traffic control crew boss, but the truth is, she's better. On episode number 1 of Tisue Podcast, we talked about Senior Airman Anthony Brown and how leadership is often displayed by people that are younger or lower ranking than we are. Keara is 3 years younger than me, and for now, 1 rank lower. She's one of those people that I expect to pass me in rank over the upcoming years, and when she does, I'll be happy about it. KB identifies some of the best work environments that she has been a part of, and together we try to figure out what makes those work environments so special. We deliberate that if we could identify and then replicate those unique characteristics, we could make people want to wake up and go to work. We could inspire job satisfaction within our airmen or our employees and increase productivity within any organization. Keara and I talk about a variety of topics. We reflect on a few stories from our time at Moody and Kunsan, and we have a few laughs along the way. If you pay real close attention, you might find out how to get involved in our monthly book club, the Finer Things Club.
Keep that all in. That's all gold.
We're all right. Your decision. All right. Hello, everybody, to Tisue Podcast, episode number 3. I'm here with Keara Fraser. We were stationed at Moody together, but we barely knew each other at all. I think I looked at her once, and then we went on our way because I went to Osan. I'm really excited to have you here. I have a lot of questions I really want to ask you. I think you're a very interesting person, and everybody that ever worked with you seems to love you. And I'm hoping that's what I can figure out today is what is it that makes you so special?
What the heck is wrong with everyone?
Why would anyone like me? Before we get started, I don't want to forget, when she was in quarantine here at Korea, I brought her this thing for her to paint for me. So she is the logo maker of my thing. So as much as she's a great controller in person, she's also a pretty decent artist. So if you would, tell people about yourself. Who are you?
I am Keara Fraser. I was really nervous I was going to misspell something also. That was like a fear of mine that I was going to think it was perfect, and then it said podcast. And I would just completely ruin the whole thing and have to get you to get another whole canvas.
I would have kept it.
Podcast.
I would have kept podcast.
I was so scared. But yes, that is my greatest achievement, is spelling all of that correctly and getting that to you in time for your first podcast.
Oh, man,
podcast.
If that is your greatest achievement, people are going to be baffled with the other things I tell about you.
They're all lies. Don't believe it. You're staring at the best thing. Let's see. About me, born and raised Guam. I didn't leave until I enlisted, and that was in 2012. I never thought I was going to join the military. I thought I'd just be going to school, but financial constraints and the interest in being independent kind of just drove me to enlisting right away after high school, and then I ended up eventually here. But my stations were first after tech school in Keesler was MacDill Tower, followed by Moody Rapcon, followed by Columbus Tower, and now Kunsan Rapcon. And in between all that, I had 1 deployment to Qatar and 1 deployment to like Abu Dhabi area.
That's 6 different places, right? Did I math that?
Yes.
Which one's the best of the 6?
That's a good question. I really enjoyed Columbus. I enjoyed the people. I felt like the leadership there, although I was coming in when like a lot of things were changing and people were getting swapped out, I was given the opportunity to really grow and kind of, take risks. And I thought that was really awesome. Whereas before I felt like I was kind of put in a hole and just told, you're going to do what you say and this is how it is. And I really felt like at Columbus, a lot of people were like, go for it. And then I learned a lot.
Isn't it like crazy just how much more you enjoy work and like doing things when it's just your decision to do it however you want to do, and if you fuck it up, people don't really care?
Absolutely. It is night and day. Like it's the difference between waking up and being excited to go to work because you're excited about who you're going to work with and excited about what you're actually doing. It's the same job, but then the environment's different. And then on the other hand, when you're under all these constraints and you just feel like this weight on your shoulders, and you know it too because everyone's feeling the same way, you just kind of wake up like, let's go. I'm obligated to do this or I'll go to jail. I can't go AWOL.
How do you feel about here? Did you like this place a lot, the people here?
I do. I do.
So I guess what we need to do is like learn how to capture whatever 2019 Columbus Tower was doing and just replicate that across the Air Force. So we needed to.
And I mean, no place is perfect. And I'm sure if you talk to someone in 2019, they'd be like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But hindsight, you look back and you're like, holy moly, we were having so much fun. And yeah, mistakes were getting made and we weren't perfect, but I feel like, just having a good time. Like it was what an enlistment's supposed to be. This is a stateside, but that's a stateside base. And that's why it was my favorite because it was like, okay, this is stateside. We know that overseas is a lot more fun. And then deployments, you get super close to people. So they have all those benefits, which also made those assignments so great. Yep. But I'd have to say Columbus for sure. And then if I said MacDill is because I also got super close to people. You're a newbie. So all the other newbies, you guys just get close. Two really best friends of mine. One of them was Matt, my husband, so I met him there. And then two best friends of mine, Ryan Monday and Brandon Press, they were in our wedding. So nice. Like that was our first, like all of our first duty stations, and like to this day we're just super tight. So
which one of those two guys was Matt's best man? Because he can't take two.
Neither of them.
They're not his best friends, they were yours.
No, they are his best friends. We share them. So, if anything goes wrong, I'm claiming them though.
Who was your maid of honor?
My maid of honor was my sister. And it was awesome because she's currently stationed in Japan. Oh, nice. So we rarely get to see each other. It's like years in between when we get to see each other. Same with everyone in my family because they're all still in Guam. So the fact that she was able to make it to the wedding and be my maid of honor was super special. She's in the Navy.
Oh, nice. Is she older or younger?
Younger.
Oh, that's cool. Where's she stationed at?
Yokosuka.
Oh, nice. Yokoda or Yokosuka?
It's right south of that.
Yokosuka, right? That's where I graduated high school.
Ooh.
Man, that's pretty, very small world. So since you can't just eat anything you want, what did you have at your wedding?
I honestly don't remember. I remember one thing, and it's because Matt will not stop talking about it. He still talks about it to this day, and it was this little tiny square of strawberry cheesecake. He thinks it's the best thing he's ever had in his life. It was either strawberry shortcake or strawberry cheesecake, and I had that one tiny square. It was like the size of a quarter small, and he says it's the best thing he's ever had in his life. I've cooked for him quite a lot, by the way. Yeah, so I'll never forget that little piece of cake. It was really good, but geez.
So if we did a trivia, what's Matt's favorite food? What would you pick? The
pizza.
Cheese? Oh, not the cheesecake from the wedding.
No.
So you can't even enjoy that.
That would be his favorite dessert, but pizza. No, I can't. I don't do pizza. Well, sometimes he'll go get pizza, and so we'll go to like one of the little create your own pizza places, and he'll get his thing, and I'll order and be like, can I have no cheese on that? And they're like, I'm so sorry. Just get out.
Yeah. For someone we haven't got too far in introducing you, I know about you, but for someone who has like their whole life together, when it comes to what you can't eat with all your allergies, you're not. You're like, completely altogether.
Nope, that's it. I had to sacrifice a lot to be great in every other area and aspect. I'm just kidding.
I have no sense of smell.
I made a deal. I made a deal with the right person, with Santa, and they provided me a lot of things to be grateful for, but they said I couldn't have cheese, no seafood. Sometimes salt water will make you very itchy. And I'm from Guam, so all these things really suck. But yeah, I can't eat too many things. that people consider just amazing.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I can eat fake cheese.
Oh, I never had that. I don't want to have it either, but that's interesting.
I think it's soy.
So you making this deal with Santa for not being able to eat all these things, you did get some good traits for yourself for it. People always really want to work for you. I've noticed that people really seem to want to be on your crew. Not people like you are too, but you people just really love you. And what do you think it is that you do that makes people like working for you so much?
I paid them to tell you that they really want to work with me. So it's just
because then that's it.
Since I've made rank, I've just been able to pay people more and more. And I'm just gonna keep telling staff that I'm doing a great job.
Just pay me, and I'll tell my boss where
I didn't consider that. Nice. I honestly don't know. I think it's because I enjoy it, because I'm having a really good time and I care about these guys. And when I wake up, I'm thinking about what we're gonna do as a crew and stuff, and that's really nerdy, and that's fine. But like, they're my why.
Yeah. They're
the reason why I stayed in. It's not just air traffic control, because as you know, the more you stay in or longer you stay in, the farther you get from actually working traffic. So
I have learned that.
It's the people. And yeah, they're awesome. Every time I go somewhere, I'm like, this team is, how'd I get so lucky? I always get the best people to work with on the daily. And then I'll go PCS and I'll be like, are you kidding me again? Like, I swear. And then I feel like everyone I work with is the best. Like, I just am the luckiest person. And then for whatever reason, everyone's like, you have the best crew, or look at your crew, they're so happy. And I'm like, I just got thrown in here. It was going to be like this, regardless of if it was me or someone else. It just happens. But if it were, I don't know, looking at it from the outside point of view, I think it'd just be because I'm enjoying it. It's not work to me to...
That sounds like a modest answer, and I can see that people feed off of like just your willingness to work. You're always there first and last one to leave, or if you guys usually get there together. So I can see that being a thing. But that's something I also want to try to like get, is like when there's this leader that everyone loves and follows, like, what is that person doing? Because even like you'll do things and I'm like, oh, I should have done that, or like I should have replicated that. So you do a lot. Your people really seem like they're willing to work themselves to death for you. Like,
oh God.
Yeah, and it's a cool trait you have, a good following.
Oh, it's really them. Like I'm telling you, it can't be me. I'm just like riding their wave, and I just get lucky to have a good group of people that are also willing to have fun and kind of not be so uptight, and to see the good in the fact that it's hard to be separated from your family by thousands of miles, to have, a tough time during the holidays because you can't go visit, tough time because it's COVID and you can't connect with people or travel as freely. But you're here, and you're here with really good people, really funny people, and people that'll try and make the best out of, like, not the worst situation, but not the best situation either. Just kind of going with the flow and making it easier on each other, being there for each other, which is also something I love to see and gets me super hyped, is how much people are willing to do for one another. Comes to like someone's dorm exploding with water, and you have someone taking shifts. You have somebody whose dorm explodes with water, and you have other people helping him move his stuff. Like, all this, any like trial or obstacle that happens, like other people are willing to like step up because we're all in this together. And I love seeing it. It just gets me even more hyped.
I think that's awesome. And I think I've pinpointed what it is. We need to make more dorms explode with water.
That's the secret. If you make a common enemy, and the enemy is pipes bursting, and I think it's good.
Did you read that out of a book?
I'm writing a book, actually.
Are you?
No.
Oh, let's hear about that. What is it called?
I couldn't take myself seriously enough, I don't think, to actually write a book. It would be satirical in nature, for sure.
I think that would make it a good book if it was just like 30 years of compounded good jokes.
Oh, man. I think we have an idea going.
I'll start writing mine down.
Every time I make a joke at work, I'm going to point at you and be like, for the book. Throw it in the book.
You know what sucks? I like to also say fun jokes, and like, now that I've been wearing a mask all the time for about a year, I'll say things like, especially this course I do, that Air Power Leadership Academy thing, like I'll make a joke and like I'm smiling, but I have a mask on so nobody knows, and I think people just think I'm an asshole now, and it's like, all right, now I can't even be myself because of this mask.
No, that's funnier. Than you
For me, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to be funny for anyone else. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to read it and laugh at my own jokes. No one else is going to read it but you.
So one of the, it is, I can't not laugh at it. One of the things that they had a superintendent course last week. I didn't go to it, but people were sharing what they learned from it for me. And instead of like regular introductions, something cool they did is I think there's 25 senior NCOs. I'm not sure the number, but each of them had to talk. And the question was, if you really knew me, you would know. And then they had to share like some really deep, dark secret that like only their closest friends know. That's
crazy.
And yeah, so when you like, oh, it doesn't matter, when you told me that it doesn't matter if people laugh or not, it makes it more funny. Like that's like my answers. Like, I care so much about like people's feelings or like what they even think of me, and I'm getting better at not caring so much. But like that's mine, is I'm just like, I can't just like offend random people or be a dickhead, because then I just feel like shit, and there's no reason to make other people feel bad.
I can see your point about like not wanting to make other people feel bad, because I can agree with you there. But as far as like what they think of you and like their judgment and stuff, even off of like minimal interactions and one joke, I feel like you can make that up, because once people start to get to know you and bother to get to know you, those are the people that matter, by the way, the people that bother to get to know you. There's the only person whose opinion you should care about. They'll see what it really is. They'll see that you're funny, or they'll see that your type of humor and your personality and how caring and nice and smart you are. They're not just going to see your one terrible joke that nobody laughed at but you under the mask.
I'm going to record those last 30 seconds on repeat and just sleep. Put that on repeat. You're okay.
The part where I'm like, that's a terrible joke. Nobody laughed. You're like sleeping and crying.
What about you? If I know we're only like 15 minutes in, but what's something that most people don't know about you, but if they really knew you, they'd know?
Man, that's a good one. Yeah. I'd say I'm going to go with what AX or Giovanni. She, I think, knows me at this point, but early on when we were getting to know each other, I think we had a conversation. She was just venting, and I can't really tell you what, word for word it was. I'm terrible at remembering these things, but I know the gist of it was something about how I'm so positive, how nothing phases me, or, I'm just unfazed. I'll just keep going along. Now that she knows me, she's going to be like, holy hell, that is not true. Like, I'm in my head so much. I'm constantly overthinking, constantly worrying about what people are thinking or how something I did affected people, or if I made the right decision, even if it's a small thing, or if my reaction was the correct way or the best way. I'm constantly, at the end of every day, I'll keep myself awake, just like thinking about what I could have done better, or what would have been the best way to handle that situation. And to say I'm unfazed by things it's not correct. I just know that I need to maintain a certain reaction. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going downhill, especially like the more in the room you get. Like, so in air traffic, the watch supervisor, they're overseeing the room. Mm-hmm. You've worked for a watch supervisor who is pinging, freaking out, yelling, and it makes the whole room shaky. It's a vibe. It's energy, and people feed off of it. So when you're in a position where you're supposed to be leading, your reaction is super important. Like, if I were to freak out like I am internally, it would not be good for everyone working for me. So what I do is I just wait until the end of the day, and I like self-reflect. And I'm trying to get better at it and trying to do it in a healthy way, because before it would keep me up all night. It would just make me go manic, and it was rough. But now I think I'm getting better at it. I think I'm getting the hang of it and realizing that it's normal, and that there are, healthy ways to go about self-reflecting that isn't so negative, or like, oh, I'm going to beat myself up for not saying this right. Just like, I could have done better, and I will next time. And then it's not so rough.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I always see you on Facebook Messenger active. Like if I'm not always active, but like within like the most it'll say is like active 1 hour ago. Like you're not like on it all the time, but it seems like you're never like, I don't know. I wonder what the time limit is when it doesn't say anything for the person, but you're usually up, especially late. So I figured maybe you were talking to Matt, but it's interesting that maybe you're just thinking about work things.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully not always.
I'm always on Messenger. And I feel like I don't have an addiction. I even put like this timer on my apps, so on Facebook and Instagram, so that I won't be scrolling for more than an hour between both apps. So I have an hour limit. But then Messenger is always going. I'm like always talking to Matt, always talking to other people at different bases and just chatting with people. So yeah, a lot of memes between different group chats from different bases and stuff.
That's where you get all your memes. So you just have like a chat and you're like, guys, there's this cool competition. I need to win. And you just have 30 people coming up with memes.
I just start it. I just throw a really bad one and then everyone else gets involved, which I loved.
I really did love that. Something, I guess it didn't take off as great as I did, but about 5 people contributed. But there's this thing I have as a training manager, and it irritates me. And I was talking to her about it because it happens all the time. There's no stopping it. And then someone made a joke like, you need to speak to the younger generation in the terms they understand. And then like 30 minutes later, KB sends me this meme of like me being upset about it. And then we made it a competition to like who can make the best meme. It was a great idea, and I recommend anyone who needs to speak to younger people to just make a meme competition. Yes.
But you have to be strong, because you will be hurt if you aren't strong.
That's why I haven't slept. That's why I've been active this whole week on Messenger.
The memes will flame you. That's why only 5 people participated. There can be only so much flame before Facebook will shut an entire group chat down.
This guy's gonna... You know what else was a really time where I had to be strong is I relatively new to radar. I get my rating around Christmas time, and then these assholes make this poem for everyone. It's just...
that was... First off, I don't know who wrote that. That's crazy. Yeah.
But you said you Googled it.
It was on Google already made. I have to thank Jim Donnelly for that, because when we were at the deed... Again, one of those things where we're really close. We know we're in this situation where it's Christmas and we're away from our families. So we bonded. We made this little Christmas thing in the tower cab. And one of the things we did on a really slow shift was come up with this Christmas poem. And it was just terrible. So awful. And we're actually just reminiscing about it too, but I used that idea because I saw how much joy / pain it brought, and I wanted to bring that to Kunsan. So we were just having fun. It was one of those things too. Jaron Deakins, Giovanni Arroyo, we were just sitting there in the room during a swing. It's slow as heck, and we just started. I was saying I was rapping. That's not what was happening, and my goodness, it was terrible. But we put it on paper, and as you heard it on Christmas, it was just us having fun and trying to include everybody, even the new guys, as much as possible to hear. Now they're new to the base. They see through poetry
that you can make fun of the most senior ranking individual.
Yes. They see, they're like, wow, oh my goodness. I need to stay on my toes because they are going to rap / write poetry about me.
I hope so. It's interesting. I really did like that. Even though it like insulted me, I was like, man, that made me feel good. I'm one of them, even though I sit in the office and kick records back all the time. Like, I'm a part of them.
Well, yeah, we also know that you can handle the joke for sure.
We think that.
Oh, we thought.
We thought.
Now we know you've been crying yourself to sleep.
So had you not joined the Air Force, 9 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you'd be doing right now?
I think I'd probably be teaching, because that's what I intend to do when this is all complete. This part of my journey is complete.
Teaching what?
I'm not sure. I just like teaching. I really got a lot personally from being part of like our high school's JROTC program. It was an Army JROTC program, and the instructors there had a huge impact on my life. Just provided me a lot of direction and a lot of discipline and advice when things were tough, which was a lot of the time growing up. So I would like to give that back. So even if I were just to teach or be an instructor of some sort, I think I would really enjoy that. Trying to give back my time and attention in any subject to students is like a passion of mine. I really enjoy training as well. I think it's very important. And I think learning and teaching is it's how to make people realize how passionate they are about something. And it's a big life changer. So that's my plan. I think that's what I'd be doing. And I fully intend to try and go that route when I'm done, is become a GROTC instructor. And then I have like aspirations to get into like more administrative and then eventually political things.
Yeah, I think it is kind of satisfying to teach someone and see them like learn from it. I could see why that would be your thing. And for you to tell me that's what you want to do when you retire or get out of the Air Force, I didn't know that, but it makes sense. I know you're a big school goer. I thought I was a good school goer. I'm close to getting a master's degree, and then I know you're 3 years younger than me, and you're working on a doctorate, and I'm just like, well, I'm fucking nothing.
No.
Great. Here I was thinking I'm achieving shit.
You are achieving stuff. I just didn't stop. I just like was taking one class at a time, and then
as
they
a
just
3-level?
all rolled. As a 3-level, I think I did. I don't think I took any CLEPs or anything, but I say it all started with that CLEP, kids. Get that CLEP done, and then who knows what'll happen. I started with the CLEPs. If not 3-level, because the library where you tested was next door to where in the dorm at McDill. So I just walk over and take a test, and then it was super satisfying to see I only needed one more class, and then I have an associate's, and then the next thing you know, they're like, oh, you only need this many more classes. You have a bachelor's. You could just take one class at a time. Super doable. And then from there, I was like, well, if I can get my bachelor's, I don't have a dime in student loan debt, and I'm going to be in the military for the foreseeable future. I'm very passionate about education. Why not? So I just continued doing it. And I never thought I would, I thought when I joined, I was like, yeah, bachelor's degree. I never thought I'd be able to get a master's. That wasn't even in the realm of possibilities. It never even crossed my mind until I was ending my bachelor's, and it was right there at the end, and I realized it was an option and it could be completely paid for. And I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. And then the same thing after the master's. I was like, after the master's, I'm tired of this and don't want to do this anymore. But I had like a month break, and I was like, I'm kind of bored. I miss the pain of I miss the pain of having homework due. I feel lost. Yeah. I feel weird not procrastinating on anything. I guess I'll just go for the next thing.
I'm excited to talk to you in a few years where you can't go to school anymore.
Yeah, they've just kicked me out. They've just stopped me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be learning something. Okay, I'll go on like Udemy or something. Oh no, they didn't pay me for that.
It's fine.
Just
we're not
bleep that out.
Yeah.
I'll go to like an online learning forum.
Ooh,
and
here's you know how many EPR bullets at the end they say inspired 7 CCAFs or like inspired 4 people to go to school. How many people have you actually like forced to go to school? Since I know it's probably quite a few since you enjoy it yourself.
I don't think I've ever really like forced, but I mean, there's probably people that worked with me that are probably like, you liar. But I don't recall ever feeling like I forced anything or like scheduled things and being like, you got to go to it. But I have always been like open about my ambitions with school and what I'm working on. And then I like to ask if school's an interest for people and then try and help them get there. But I don't think I've forced anybody. If anything, there are people that, because after the bachelor's, again, I was like, it's not really, there's a master's, I could, but that's crazy. And 2 people, Glenn Simmons and Justin Salvion at Columbus, they're going to school and they're talking about it and they're just like killing it. And I'm like, I'm going to go back to school. Like, these guys are going to school. I'm going to go back to school. I'm not just going to talk about school and how much I love it and just be like, I'm going to be done here. So if I'm passionate about it, just keep going, and hopefully, I'll return the favor. They got me back into school. Hopefully I return the favor and get some people interested. Yeah. See that it's doable. It's super possible. I just took one class at a time. When I was deployed, I took 2 classes at a time. People that were deployed with me or like worked with me probably have heard me complain about how I need to do homework, or how I'm procrastinating, how I'm 2 weeks late. But yeah. Yeah.
I had a guy when I was deployed. I had my CCAF, got it like in 2013, and then I just sat with that thinking I'm good. I don't have to do school for the rest of my career. And then I wanted to be straight midshifts, and our chief controller at Aldafra said, well, if you want to be midshifts, I just want you to go to school. And I'm not going to make you, but if you want to be mids, you go to school. I'll make that happen. So fine. And that was in 2016. And all I had was a CCAF, and it's crazy, like just him saying that, Sean Strong. I started going to school, and I was like, hey, this is actually really fucking easy. It's not hard. It's a little bit of a commitment. And then 2 years, 3 years later, I have a bachelor's degree. And then I'm like, well, a master's not that much harder. And he hits me up. He said, a master's actually easier because you already know all this fundamental stuff. It's just like an extra page or two per paper.
Yep.
And now I'm close to a master's. And then I meet you and you're like, I hear like from someone else, you're working on a doctorate. So I'm like, no, she's not. And so I asked you one day, I'm like, she's like 27. No, she's not. And then you walk by and you're like, yeah, I'm like starting and it's a lot of work. And I'm just like, fuck. And then so I start thinking about it and I look at my school if they even have doctorates programs, and they do. And I'm like, at least I'll start it. Like, so I can be where you're at a year ago and be like, oh, I started my doctorates at least. And then maybe I'll stop there, just do one class.
Yeah, that was on like on my little, that's on my goals list, is to start my doctorates. And check. I started it. So I was like, oh, check. Cool. Started it.
Failed the class, but I've
started it. But when I was applying for it too, I really didn't think I was going to get in, because they say that the class, at least for my institution, says that the class is aimed at practicing teachers, practicing instructors. But through the application process, I talked a lot about what I do and my passions for training, and how, while it's unconventional, I feel like I'm able to kind of use what they teach me to apply it to what I'm doing here, because it is leadership and administration, and then vice versa, use what I'm learning here or in any base I go to in the training aspect and leading aspect, and apply it to the degree program to kind of grow from there. Because, I mean, when we think about it, teaching is becoming not so cookie cutter, especially this past year. We're all on online forums, kind of forced to adapt and grow and use different ways of learning. So why not? So I gave it a shot, and they approved me, which I was shook. I did not think they were going to approve me. I still remember getting the phone call too. It was my like student advisor, admissions advisor. And he was like, yep, all we need is this. And I was like, what do you mean all we need is this? And he's like, oh yeah, you're good. I was like, when I'm good, like all you need is this. Like I thought, like I'd be getting this email that says, or like mail, and I'd open it up and then I'd, yay, and send it to my mom. She'd cry. But no.
Can you guys send me the letter? The letter.
No, I just got a phone call, and he like nonchalantly was like, yeah, just send us this so that we can make sure that you have the class paid for all your financial parts are. I'm like, oh, so I'm in. He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. Called Matt. He was like, yay.
Was that here you got accepted?
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. I thought it was like back before you even got here.
No, but it was here. I applied. I was applying like I think a couple months after I got here. I was rushing too, because I think it was due in the beginning of October. Maybe it was due in September, and the first session started in October. So within my acceptance, that it was 2 weeks away from my class start date.
So now that we've talked about you going to doctorates or working on your doctorates, which is really cool, there's a story you once told me, and I hope you're willing to share it again, about, I think it was at McDill. Yeah, maybe Moody. I think it was at McDill. And there was a pretty good chance that you could be a captain by now, and you decided to go through, let people do some work. Or you want to share that story?
Okay. So it was, I think, 2013 or 14. I thought I wanted to be a pilot. I thought I wanted to be an officer. I went for it. I talked to lots of officers, and I thought it was the coolest. I applied for the academy, and I wasn't accepted directly. I was accepted to the prep school, which would have added a year to the total, and would have meant 3 total basic trainings by the end of it. But if I made it all the way through. So I was accepted to that, and I had a really, really tough time deciding whether or not I was going to do it. I talked to air traffic controllers from the FAA side, air traffic controllers, Air Force currently. I've talked to academy cadets. I talked to graduates of the academy, and with everything that I was told, and then also my own feelings about how I just barely scratched the surface of air traffic being McDill Tower, I felt that it was the right decision to not go that route. And I stayed enlisted air traffic, and I have no regrets. It's been so fun. And I feel like I would have really liked being an officer and that whole realm, but I really enjoy the hands-on. I enjoy working with people. I'd be scared just seeing all the officers around now, and how I just feel like it'd be lonely. I don't know. I guess I look at them and I'm just like, you can't like do wily stuff or like, can you meme? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to. No, I don't think I'd be professional enough.
That'd be interesting. They can't even play paintball with us. There's like rules against them having fun with us.
It's too many rules, I think. And I'm all about like, after survival, your next thing is happiness or survival of you and everyone around you. You got that down. Next thing is, all right, how do you be happy and make everyone around you happy? That's the big picture. So, why would I want for more money to not stick with something making me happy?
It's such like a thought process for, I guess, 21-year-old person to go through at the time. Mm-hmm. Like even now I turn 31 tomorrow and I still just all the time I tell myself, I'll let future John figure that one out. It's just like all the time. It's not like work and no one's depending on me. I'm just like, yeah, I'll figure that out one later. But I thought when you told me that story, I thought like you basically were accepted and then you just were like, no thanks.
Yeah, that was okay because after I got the that's the other side of it is when I made the decision to say, no, I'm not going to go because they had accepted me to the prep school. And if I had been like, okay, I'll take it, then I would have like left that July. I was 20 when I got accepted. I would have turned 21 in July in prep school. And I was like, nah. And so all the people, I had to have so many people support me.
Yeah.
Like on paper too. Like I did interviews. I had to like the group commander and the wing commander had to write me recommendations. My facility chief, of course, had to write me recommendations. So I have recommendations from like the highest enlisted that I'm directly working with. Plus you have like multiple officers that are just running huge programs and like managing an entire wing. Took the time out of his day to write me a letter that says nice things about me. That way I can get accepted. And then after all that work, I was like, no. They were just like, so I remember a chief was like, she was honest about her reaction where she told me that. She was like, you know what? Like, we had all these people all the time. Think about all the time people sit out their day to make this happen for you. And I was like, I understand. I still have no regrets. Like, I feel bad that people felt like it was a waste of time, but it was an opportunity for me to open a door, and I just chose not to go through it.
Yeah. But
doing that whole thing, I did learn a lot. I realized that things are possible because there's no way in hell going through and where I grew up, there's no way in hell I would have been accepted to academy. Like that would have been a joke. Like even some of the things I get to do today. I went to Disney World or not, like
today,
in general, not today, but like in life so far since I've enlisted, things that I never really, even as a child or growing up in Guam, I thought I would ever happen. Academy was one of them. I thought I was in a dream. I just chose not to take that route. I went to Disney World once. I was like, are you kidding me? They have this really messed up thing where we get commercials on Guam for Disney World, but we can't go there because we don't have Disney World.
And none of us
I'm
can
just
afford
like,
it.
Okay, thanks. For a long time, it was Chuck E. Cheese too. We just see all these like kids and pizza, and we never had a Chuck E. Cheese. They had one open in Guam. I think it actually just closed down. But
it's too bad.
But yeah, so all these things that I got to experience, even getting accepted, even though I didn't say yes or didn't go, it was still open doors for me and like it eye opener and it confidence boost and just made me realize a lot is possible. And the reason why a lot of people don't know how much is possible because no one even tries.
Yeah.
They really don't. Like, it's crazy. People don't know that they're possible, like it's possible to get a degree because they don't take that first step. Even though they have the resources available to them, maybe no one pushes them to the first step. But it's just like that, but you can expand that and apply that to so many areas.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to just say, oh, I could do that, and maybe I'll start that after I do this, or next month I'll do that. It's just easy to push things off, and then it becomes unimportant. So,
that's super true.
Yeah, those little things that are possible, you just have to try, are like the things people just don't try because they don't know how, and they ask for help, especially as an airman. Like if I, as an NCO, staff sergeant, if an airman was like, I want to do this, I'd be like, I don't know how to do that. Like it just, and I would have to like really put in the effort. I know now I would do it, but staff sergeant, you probably wouldn't have put in the effort to figure it out or help that person. But I really like that story that, you could be a pilot now and you're just pass.
No, and they're like, excuse me?
Yeah, I'm good.
I sat at my desk for an hour. I was like, I'm so sorry.
I'll buy you lunch.
Yeah, I owe you one. Thanks. That was all nice, but no.
Yeah.
I felt really bad after she said that, but I still, to me, I made the right decision. I mean, I'll never look back. Like, I feel bad that you had to type that out, but you said really nice things and I kept it. So
yeah, and something I like. I don't know if the word fantasize is right, but something I think about all the time is those little decisions. Like there was all that pressure and things for you to just say, okay, fine, I'll do it. And yes. Mm-hmm. And the reason that you said no is like, I'm curious if you'd still be married to Matt. I know you knew him at the time, but you were young as hell. I don't know how close you guys were. And just like everybody since I wouldn't know you, this whole, nobody here would know you.
Crazy.
And I love thinking about that. Like, I don't know. Did you get McDill out of tech school? Mm-hmm. Would you get top grad or something?
No, not at all.
Oh, you just got lucky and got McDill? Mm-hmm. Oh, good for you.
I had so many haters, too.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know. And they're like, oh, you're going to McDill. I was like, where's that? Oh, that's Florida. I'm like, oh, cool. But I didn't know, like, there was, preferred states. I didn't care. Just knew that there was, like,
in America.
Florida's nice weather. And I think, I have family in Florida, so I was very stoked on that front. But, like, you could have sent me any base. I had no knowledge of what was a good base, what was a bad base.
Yeah,
so
you got really lucky, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
I also didn't know McDill existed until, 5 years in, probably.
Mm.
Oh,
it was a good assignment. It was fun. There's a lot of us there. So I made a lot of good friends.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got Dias at a tech school, and this girl, Kayla Bailey, wanted to go to Dias, and she hadn't got her base yet, but she wanted Dias. She's like, will you trade me? And I'm like, well, it matters what you get. I'm not just going to say yes. And so like a couple of days later, she got off it, and I Googled it, and I was like, yeah, Omaha sounds cool. Like, they're about the same. So I traded her, and literally everyone I know, I stayed in. I thought the civilians were great off it. Like, my entire life changed because this random girl, wanted this base that I didn't even know anything about. Mm-hmm. And everyone I know is different now. And I always think those little moments are cool. And I even think, like, even something as small as this podcast, or it's like every moment, every little decision you make is just like that, the whole butterfly, like everything changes.
Thinking of that movie.
Yeah. Like our friend, well, more your friends than mine, went to dinner today, didn't even invite us. Like, no. I'm going to be an asshole to them for the next week.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a decision I'm making as well.
I'm going on a trip with them this weekend, and I'm going to be an asshole.
Yeah. Just going to point out every hole I see and just prevent people from falling in it.
So how long did you stay at McDill for when you got there?
I was there from 2012 until 2015. I left a little early because all the senior airmen at the time were command leveled because we were a very overmanned facility. So I was one of the many senior airmen to get orders, and I went to Moody from there. Moody RAPCon.
Yeah. How so was Matt there the whole time with you?
He was at McDill. He came in a year after, and we all had similar friends or similar groups, but I was hanging out with different people for the most part. Matt and I didn't officially start dating or anything till I actually PCS to Moody.
Oh,
and that's kind of how that went. Like, we would just do the 3.5 hour drive. Back and forth. I would go to Tampa way more often than he would go to Moody, and I feel like everyone would understand why.
Yeah,
there's just why. So many things to do in Tampa. It's unlimited, or you can go to Orlando. So, yeah. And then I had a house in Tampa as well, so it was nice.
You bought a house by yourself?
No.
Oh, okay.
I had help buying it, but it ended up just being my thing to deal with.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay, because I learned a lot about real estate, and then that became a quick little passion of mine. So it was really, that one was a whole experience too. Just I moved into the house. I closed on the house let's say, I closed on the house maybe August. Moved in, and then a month later I had orders. It was that kind of situation. I was like, really? So the reason why I decided to buy a house is because I was told no one ever leaves McDill. There are people that were there for years and years, and you had to try to get to leave, which is weird because I know that now I know everyone's trying to get to McDill.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was like that, but we had 60 people at the time, and just so happened I made the decision to buy a house. So that's why the world was like, give her orders. And I got it, and it was to Moody. So I'm super lucky because I was able to, you know, be a landlord of sorts remotely, but then I can just drive down. And the people that lived in the house were friends. Oh, okay. Matt was one of them. So he helped make sure that the house is doing all right. Like all my close friends lived there. They took care of it. So it was awesome. Like I was super fortunate. If I was going to get orders, it was a perfect set as far as that goes. As far as the house goes. Yes.
So having a husband named Matt Fraser, how often has people gotten confused with the 5-time CrossFit champion Matt Fraser?
I'd say pretty often. There was, when we went to Guam a month ago, we had someone who saw his name on the paper and he was delivering food. So he was like, wanted to deliver on purpose because someone was like, yo, there's a white guy, Matt Fraser. And he was like, you said what? Oh, I know, like that's a CrossFit guy. He goes up and then he knocks on the door. And when Matt answers, of course, he's just like, you're not the guy. But he did tell us, he was like, I thought you might have been, you know, the CrossFit guy. Do you know him? And we're like, yeah, we know him.
We've never heard this.
Follow him on Instagram. He's super inspirational.
Yeah.
Yeah. He watches Netflix stuff and it just makes me want to work out.
Yeah. He had a podcast with Joe Rogan that was really good and just talks about why he thinks he had an advantage. He started doing, I don't know if you listened to that one, but he just started doing CrossFit to pay like college bills because like he was getting money to do them and he didn't even know what the competition was.
Oh yeah. I believe it. I don't think I've watched that one. I have heard him talk about how like at first his passion was like just weightlifting. I think powerlifting maybe.
The Olympic weightlifting is what he was going for.
And then like he's just gone to CrossFit. It's like one of those little decision things. Then he becomes the freaking world's fittest man on earth or whatever. That's crazy.
Yeah, he went to like some random gym, like CrossFit gym, but he wanted to just do his own thing. And the guy that owned the gym was like, hey, will you just do this competition, see how you do? And he won. And he got like, I guess, a couple $100. And he's like, I'm going to keep doing this.
That's crazy.
He just kept winning. Yeah.
Fittest man on earth.
So even though your Matt Fraser isn't the fittest man on earth, hopefully he's somewhat fit. He's in the Air Force, so I'm sure he is. What's the best date you two have ever been on? Something for me to write down and use someday.
So one time, it was McDill. I think pretty early on to our like dating. So I'd driven down from Moody, I'm pretty sure, over a weekend, and we got dressed up like all fancy. He wore like a suit and I wore like this long dress. We went to I don't think it was one of the big airports. It was one of the small airports. I just can't remember the name of it. And we ate at the hangar. The hangar had like this nice restaurant. We ate there. And then we got into helicopter and did a helicopter tour of Tampa. And I thought that was super neat.
That's pretty neat.
Yep.
It's like one of those like simple, I mean, it's probably expensive, but it's like just simple and memorable.
Mm-hmm. I had a good time. I enjoyed it. I took lots of pictures. I'm like super happy in all my pictures too. And just, I mean, you get dressed up, you eat, it doesn't get better. You think, and then you get into a helicopter, you're like, yay!
I have this funny joke. Well, it's not funny to anyone else, but whenever I meet like a pilot, I like to tell them that I'm an air traffic controller as many times as I can. Oh, so like when I was on a helicopter, I would just keep telling them because I think it's so funny.
What is their reaction?
I mean, the first time they actually think it's cool, and they're like, oh, wow, we have something in common. Yeah. And then when you keep doing it, they're like, you can just tell it, but I like smile and laugh and I'm like, okay.
I think that would be funny.
Yeah, try it next time.
I mean, it's kind of like pilots do the same thing. I think. So
dude, they're not being funny about it.
No, that's what makes it a joke. That's why I think it's funny. It's like every time they mention your pilot, just bring up nonchalantly your controller.
Oh yeah, bro.
Yeah, you got to do the pilot voice too. The one where they're like, ladies and gentlemen, look out the right.
Yeah. I was talking to Gene Tashida. He's the EOD guy here the other day, and we got into the 5 love languages. Mm-hmm. Have you ever yeah, like every military, and it was funny because like about a minute into it, I was like, why the fuck are we talking about this? Like 2 grown men, like it's a little more comfortable talking about it to a woman. But I was dating this girl for 2 years, and we broke up. And like a month afterwards, I was talking to another girl, just like, somewhat sad about it. And she was like, maybe your love language just didn't line up. And I was like, well, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And she sends me this article and I'm reading it. And I'm like, oh, that like makes perfect
Yes,
sense. Like
it does.
she like would do these things and like tell me, she was like, I just want you to watch my show with me and not be on your phone. And I'm like, I'm not watching The View. Like, I'm not doing it. But like, it's really important to her. Do you know what your love language is and what your husband's is?
Matt's, I think, is physical touch, and mine would be quality time. Say, and then I think his and ours are also like secondary, maybe words of affection, words of affirmation. There you go.
Yeah, it's mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no. I'll make a nice poem for you now that I know that. Like, just kind of make up for the fact we destroyed you at Christmas.
It's just the opposite. It's attention. But they're joking. They don't mean it. But it was crazy because I remember like even like I didn't read the book yet or that article, and I remember being like, "You never say anything nice to me." And she's like, "I just don't do that." You know, it was like the worst relationship when we like, or maybe it could have been great had we read that stupid article. But so what I did with that article a month after being broken up and being single is I formulated like the best date idea someone can have, where you hit like all 5 of the categories, and I should share it. I guess I won't because I don't want people to steal my date idea.
It. Yeah, because then you'll eventually be on a date with somebody and they'll be like, crazy, someone already took me on this exact date. Weird, you're even saying the same things.
I'm going to share it now because it's almost too much, but it's relatively successful. If anyone wants to steal it, go for it.
$5.
I'll find just hit the subscribe button. If I get 100, I think I get a couple bucks. So I don't really remember the languages, but I'll go through it and like it hits all 5. But you start by, you can just take whatever playlist you like, whatever music you like, and you just whatever playlist you have. I know you think Spotify is for peasants, but I have Spotify, and you just rename it to girl's name, my name, date, or like so you just put their name on this playlist, and then when you pick them up, you're playing it. You got to get out and open the door, active service.
Yes.
You close the door behind them. No one does that anymore. It's such like a simple thing, and no one ever does it. Yeah, start doing that. That alone is like, I think, great.
Matt does that.
Yeah. It's
sometimes he'll like, I'll go for the door and, he stops me. Like, it's almost rude, but then it's for the access.
I have to do this to keep our love alive. What about when you park? Does he open it, or do you just sit there and wait to get out?
I don't know. He drives a lot, and that in itself is acts of service. That's also him fearing for his life, but it's also an acts of service.
I've never thought about that. It is pretty common for the man to drive, but man, I wonder if that's related at all. I forgot my date idea, but so you open the door.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
No, you're good. You got the playlist. You get to wherever you're going, and I think like the biggest part of it is when you're like parked. You unplug your phone, or I guess people have Bluetooth now, and you put your phone in your glove box or in whatever, what's that thing called to your right? The console?
Yes.
Yeah, and you make sure they see that because they're like, what are you doing? And you just like, oh, I just don't want to get distracted. I just want to hang out with you.
That's meaningful.
Yeah, and it every time like, oh. Like, it's just like nobody does that. But that's the gist of it. And it's not really like, I guess, the perfect date. It's just like these simple common things that you can just do to like really impress someone or like just show that your full attention is on them. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. I feel like I actually sounded like an asshole the way I led into that because it's not like a...
No, it sounded good, and it sounds really nice. And if you trust this person not to murder you, then it's a great idea. But if you're a little scared, just bring your phone and put it in your back pocket.
Yes.
Don't let them see that you're just... If you're meeting someone on Craigslist and you're putting your phone in the center console, they're just like, yes. Perfect. He's taking the advice from the podcast. The perfect target. He must have listened to the podcast.
Dumbass doesn't know I have 3 more phones in my pocket.
But you're just staring at your iWatch or whatever the whole night. Like, yeah. But wait, you saw me put the phone away, right? So we're cool, right?
We're good.
That's like when you tell someone leave your phone outside of the room, but then they're still like on their watch and acting like you can't see them with a broken neck staring at their watch. Like, I know the natural human form is not a neck at a 90-degree angle in the corner with your arm bent facing you, right? That's okay. These kids these days. And their technology. They're special watches.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid and I would meet someone at a playground. And I could just be like, hi, I'm John. You'd be like, hi, I'm Keara. I'm like, what's your phone number? And you could tell it to me, and I got it, and I don't forget it. And now, like, I know my number, and that's it, and my work number.
I couldn't even tell you Matt's number. I might accidentally give you his social security instead, so I'm not going to try.
Yeah, that is crazy. Like, it would. I wonder what it is about. I mean, technology just makes it too easy. You don't need to remember.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, we have so much space now because you don't have to remember all these numbers. But I can remember numbers from my childhood still, like phone numbers.
Really? What was your is that phone number still active? Same house number?
Yes, I think so.
What do you think it is? We'll confirm it with your sister.
It's 671 area code 653-3239. Everybody call.
Whoever lives there now is fucked.
You're gonna have to pay extra because it's a Guam number, so they're gonna
call it.
Yeah, do it. Like that money goes somewhere.
Yeah. I had this thing. I wanted to do office trivia with you, but I didn't write any notes. I'm trying to think of like the most in-depth questions that you would never know. And I Googled office trivia questions, and one of them was, what's Phyllis's maiden name?
Oh, man. Because she married Bob Vance, but what was Phyllis's name beforehand? I don't know. Yeah,
me neither. And it told me, but I forgot. Again,
is it like some random name, like Roberts or something?
Fill in there. I don't know if it's something. It was something. It's not a normal last name, at least not one I've ever heard of.
But even when I get put on the spot, I'll forget things. Like, you know, what's Stanley's last name? It might take me a second. Do you know Stanley's last name?
Jesus. Let me ask you another question. I'll get back. I know he's got a mustache.
What's Jim's last name?
Halpert.
Jim Beasley.
What the heck is... Okay, what two items were put in Jell-O in the first ever episode?
Oh, I think it's the stapler, and was it a calculator?
Nope.
What's the other thing?
Michael's cup.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, at the closing.
Good. So now that you didn't know that simple office question, what's Stanley's last name?
I don't.
Okay, you asshole.
Stanley. That's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't.
Man, we do not look like people who watch The Office.
No. We should just burn these after this episode.
We'll skip that last 2 minutes.
What was Stanley's last name? It's going to bother me. It's okay. When we are done, I'll be like, announce it out the window. I won't remember.
Start screaming it. Oh. So, your book club. Our book club. Let's talk about that. Well, because that's named after The Office, so clearly we're real fans.
Yes. We're big posers. But the Finer Things Club is poppin'. We have a lot of traction in the form of not one, but two dedicated members.
Oh, Bailey, actually. He bought the book.
Yes. Okay.
From the tower.
Great.
So 3 people.
Yes. I should have broadcasted that a little more too.
No, it's fine. I should have also done it. I fear rejection. So when they didn't respond to you, they weren't going to respond to me.
Oh yeah. Most of the things I post, because you don't see what I post in like our crew chat. Everything I do is just extra. So they're just like, okay. All right. They're like, don't like it. Don't post any emojis. Don't do anything. Do not encourage this type of behavior. If you're quiet, she won't see you.
Yeah. Sometimes when I send like funny memes, I'll like look at it and then I see who sees it. And I'm like, guys, you didn't acknowledge it. I
will always like and acknowledge through emoji or some type of reaction because, you know, it's like the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. And I want the emojis.
Yeah, maybe actually that's why I'm a fan of you, because you always acknowledge every meme I put in there. It's like, someone's got my back.
Emojis of affirmation.
Yes, that's it. Love, man. We should make trainees. Whenever we get to our next spaces, we got to make trainees take the love language test and then figure out how to train them based off that. It probably would work.
I think this is going to be a problem. Like, my trainer keeps kissing me on the forehead every time I get a question right. You were labeled physical touch. I didn't know.
Okay. You're a good point.
High fives, maybe.
Receiving gifts every time. I can't afford to train.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I think the book club's gonna be fun. We want to try to read. We're just trying to read more. It's actually on my goal list there.
I see. Read one book a month.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. That's mine too, because I can't. I think the most I've read in like a period was when I was deployed. It wasn't even this last time. It was like the time before that, and I had a lot of time on my hands, and so I read 8 books, and that's not even a lot in 6 months. That's not too much.
I think it's pretty good. I think it's more than most, but yeah, I guess
it's not too much if you have really bad Wi-Fi and a lot of free time. It basically is like reading, the gym, school, work.
Yeah, Chief Fright would be disappointed, but yeah. I'm impressed.
Chief would be disappointed.
He would be.
Sorry. But I'm trying to read more. If I can get to a book a month, like your goal, then I'll be super happy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I enjoy reading, and it's like peaceful, and it even like helps me fall asleep at night when I'm struggling. But I feel like I've read enough of like self-improvement leadership books where a lot of them is repetitive, and it helps to reinforce those values worded in a different way. But I'll catch myself like now when I'm reading and it's not as interesting, so I'm like reading it and then I'm thinking just about something I did at work, and then I'm a page and a half, I'm like, what the heck did I just read?
I do the same thing. I'm so slow at reading because my mind just drifts so quickly. Even if I'm reading about something and the line will stick with me, and then I'll just start thinking about somebody who's just failed at that one part, and I'll be like, oh yeah, what a loser. Yeah.
I start judging them, and this is how I didn't but should have acted in that moment. Like, this is what I should have done.
Look at that in the book. Freaking nailed it. Yeah. Well, all my little essays when I was doing, because my bachelor's is in leadership and interdisciplinary studies, so a lot of topics I just be talking about people and like, yeah, and then this person made this decision at work, like this is how they handled this thing. Or like we'll have a course on change management, and I'll like think back on a time where something changed in the facility, which is like all the time, and it was handled just terribly, and I'll be like, yes, it's like I'm venting, basically.
Yeah, I could see that. So, I mean, change management is something that I find really interesting. Like almost all leadership books talk about this is how you implement a change, and I usually whenever I get to choose my topic in my leadership master courses, I always pick change management because once you've wrote one, you can just keep writing it.
It's your expertise. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and it just goes through quick, and you pass the class. But there's this thing called the Cotter's 8-step change model. I don't know if you've ever heard of that or not. But
I think you sent it to me.
Did I?
You sent it to me.
It's perfect because people hate change, but if you like just follow that, you can actually like implement it and do good things. But we don't ever do that. We're just like, this is the new rule. Yep. Go.
Well, it's not, we're not built to, we're not built to apply the 8-step change because that requires like communication and like, what do you call it? Cooperation and working hand in hand. We're like, at least our job or whatever in the military, it's hierarchy. What they say goes, and they don't have any obligation to include anyone else lower, even though they're the ones applying the change or implementing or are most affected by the change. They have no obligation to talk to them and get their input or get their ideas. They just make a call and then it happens. Yeah. So we're just not built to do it, and so
some people are though. Some people. I mean, we're talking about it right now, and if we're ever in the position to make changes, I think we'll do better than these people, I guess, who didn't do that for you.
That's because we're accelerating,
and we're in the Finer Things Club.
That's true.
I'll pay 98% of the reason to that. So if you guys want to join our book club, send her a message, send me a message. Yes. You're in. We're only taking 40 applicants.
I don't know. He just said there's a third person, so things are starting to roll way more quickly than I was expecting.
Get in or you're out.
But I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good book, too. It's been on my list for a long time. It was like a recommendation of a podcast that I can't even recall. And the title alone really intrigues me because, I mean, I feel like they're just applying it to what we know. Yep. Like people are coming in, people are enlisting, and their thought processes and their personalities are a lot different than what the older guys say, when I joined, this is how we were, and we just blah, 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 blah. It's not like that anymore. Yep. We need to adapt. It's not just the new guys coming in that need to adapt to the military. We need to adapt to all these new guys coming in. Otherwise, we're not going to be effective. It's not going to work. We can't just keep applying the same things we were doing. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere.
I agree. So, Coddling of the American Mind, that's it, right?
Yes.
Yep. And I have it over there. I guess, I don't know if I'm allowed to show a book cover. I think I'm going to do it anyway.
You're going to get demonetized.
Yeah, I'm sure I won't. Yeah, it looks interesting, and it's about exactly what she just said, so... If you guys want to read it, you probably won't, I don't know if you'll be able to get it off Amazon. Maybe if you're in America, you probably get it pretty quick. Mm-hmm. But today's April 8th. Monday, we're going to be up to chapter 3. And if you can't make this one, it's one book a month. So
well, we like hard copy. Well, I assume you like hard copy because I could see your bookshelf. But anyone else can just get audio or the digital copy super quickly.
That's true.
So, yeah, join us.
Yep.
Join us.
We'll be better together. So, since we're talking about like leadership in books, what's your favorite self-improvement or leadership book you've ever?
Man, that's a good one. Oh.
Does it start with Y?
No, it's not. That one is so good. No, it's not that one. Self-improvement or leadership book. So I feel like I've read a good amount of lots of different topics that could be considered self-improvement just in different, I guess, areas. I really liked, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because it's a book that changes your mentality about the way you look at finances. That one's a good one. It's not really maybe what some people would consider self-improvement, but I think it is. And then, let's see. As far as leadership books go, there's one that Justin Salvion recommended to me, and I had put it off for, I kid you not, I bought the book, and I had it for like 6 months before I read it, and I brought it with me here, and I had just finished it when I had first gotten here, but I felt bad because he kept asking me, did you read the book? Did you read the book? Because it ended up being a really good book, but I'm trying to remember the name of it because I'm on the spot. Darn it. I can remember the cover. You know what I mean? Shoot, sir.
This moment
where
someone's like under this pressure and like there's a camera and they're like, oh, people are going to remember this time I didn't remember a book.
Yeah. No, they're not going to remember anything I've said through this podcast. They're just going to remember this section like, she doesn't read. She doesn't read. It's a lie.
She's a phony.
She doesn't read. It's a lie. I mean, I guess, okay, until I can remember the name of that one, Leaders Eat Last. That was a good one too. But I know for the book that I'm trying to remember, one of the big things I got from it was his interpretation of the word empowerment and then his interpretation of what a good leader is. Because for a long time, for everything I did, because I like to keep busy, I don't think it's like that I have an excellent work ethic. I think I just like to keep busy. I like to keep my mind going. So I'm always moving. And for a lot of the time I was in, I thought once you leave somewhere, if people don't see or feel that you're gone, then you're not a leader. Like you should have had a really big impact. People should kind of hurt and that's not really good thinking. Like if you're a good leader, when you leave, you've allowed people to grow and be able to lead programs without you there. So if I can step away and things are running smoothly, I should feel way more accomplished than if I were to step away and everything just goes to crap and the building's on fire. And like, that's what I thought, a leader was somebody who like, without this person, the whole thing will crumble. Yeah. And that's now I've completely switched the opposite. If the good leader is somebody who like, when they leave, they've just empowered, that's not the right word here, and I'll explain why, but they've just allowed people to grow and lead themselves and be confident in their decision making and be confident in their own ability to do what they're supposed to do to accomplish the mission, that when you're gone, it's just like, all right, she's gone, but we know what we need to do. Like, that's a good leader. And it changed my mindset on that point. But the reason why empowerment's not a good word is because his interpretation of it is that when you say you need to empower people, just saying that alone is already implying that you need to provide something they don't already have. I have to be the one to give them power. No, they already have the power. You just kind of let them do what they already need. Like, they have everything they need. If you can provide them resources, if you're asking them to do something and you don't provide them resources, okay, that's a failure on your end. But to say, oh, I need to empower these airmen, I need to empower these people, empower these followers, is already, a little backwards. So yeah. His interpretation of that I thought was really interesting too.
That is really interesting. And now whenever you figure this book, you have to tell me, because that does sound really interesting.
I'll never tell you.
You don't need to know this.
It was such a good book too.
Yeah, so much of the things you say I can relate. Like, I'm guilty of this, and I don't think I did it when I left Spangalum, but when I left Moody, I remember like thinking, or when I left Osan as well, which I went from Moody to Osan, and both times I left, in my head, and I would even say it out to people, I'd be like, you guys, this is going to suck when I leave. You guys aren't going to be able to handle this. And I was a crew boss at both those places, and all that shows is like my ass just handled everything and didn't do a great job. And when you were saying that, that's what I was thinking of. It's like, oh, that is all I thought. Like I carried this team, and it wasn't. They were fine. They were fine both times.
And that's the good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. And controllers do that. Even ones that are leaving here, they say that. Oh man, good luck when I leave. You know, you guys don't have manning. The new people.
Yeah, it's just maybe change the mindset, because you will be happier too.
Yep.
Because you might, with that same mindset, if you looked back and you saw, your team was persevering without you, doing even better, or, just continuing to grow, you might be a little hurt. But that's not what's happening. It's, look at it and consider that without you getting them to that point, they might not have been doing as well. So it definitely is a mind changer. But yeah, I'll get back to you on that book. Yeah,
I really need to know. Hopefully you remember soon. So that's your favorite book. You've been in the Air Force for 9 years. That's right? I think I already asked that. 9 years. Who's been like the best influence, biggest inspiration to you for your career? You can't pick Matt.
Yikes. That's really tough. Inspiration. It's hard to put just one name out there, because I feel like everywhere I go, I'm exposed to numerous people, not just one person, that have really made a change in the way I think, in the way I make decisions. Like if I were to look back on 2 years ago and what I was thinking, what my leadership philosophy was, or what I thought my response should be every time A, B, and C happens, it's going to be completely different than right now. Absolutely. And it's not because of just me. It's because of all these people I've encountered. So that's a really tough one. But I could tell you who I find is super inspirational and a really great influence as a leader, and that's like Daniel Merlin. And it's because he's super kind, he's smart, he is a goal chaser as well, and he works for the people. He isn't necessarily chasing anything as far as, promotion goes or anything like that. And that's obvious in his work ethic that he's there for people. Like, this is why. It's kind of like my thing was with, like, I enjoy waking up and helping people, or just feeling like I've accomplished something and just working for people. And I feel like I see that a lot in him, that he's willing to like break his back for people, and it shows in the way people respect him and the way people are willing to help each other too, because they see him working that hard. So I'd say I'm gonna name drop him on that one.
That's a good one. Where's he at now?
He's at Columbus.
Okay. Yeah, Columbus has a lot of solid people there, like right now. I know Mick Leroy's there too. I was with him at Ocean, and people always liked him. He just made senior, didn't he? Yeah. Yep. That's good. It seems like that is the way you were, Dan, was that his name? The way you're describing Dan is, I'll just say, like, kind of how people would probably describe you. So it's kind of interesting that that's how you described your person, because I would say that's how I could describe you with those words. So you're doing really well. I'm really proud of you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where's the affirmation?
Well, see, I would only do that to her. I dated her for 2 years. I'd always compliment her, and she'd just be like, "Shut up."
Oh my god.
And I was an asshole too, so it was both. One of the things I really need to ask you is, there's this thing that I want to do with every controller, and I want them to list. And I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. But you're an air traffic controller at 6 different air traffic control places, and so I'm gonna ask you 5. You're gonna get to pick 5 different people, and they're all different categories. And so I'll tell you the categories first, and then we can go through them one by one.
Okay.
So the first one is going to be, who's the best air traffic controller you ever met. The next one is who's the most book smart, like just knew the .65, knew all the rules. Third one is who's the best leader, just has like leader ability. Everyone wants to work and follow that person. Who's just the nicest person, like skill set, controller skill set aside, who's just the nicest. And finally, if you could pick one person for the rest of your career that just follows you around to every air traffic control facility, who would that person be? So first one, best air traffic controller you ever met.
Okay, so I feel like it's only fair to separate tower controller and like a radar controller. Okay. So those are different flavors of controller.
Which flavor is better?
See, everyone asks that, but my response is always, it's like tacos and ice cream. They're both fantastic. Wait.
Which one's
not for me though, because I don't do dairy, but for other people, it'd be like tacos and ice cream, because those are 2 different things that people love. So, both really good things, really cool things people love. And to decide one over the other would be tough for me. So, yeah, I can't really give a good answer.
Okay, you can get a tower and a radar guy.
Okay, so.
Or girl.
Tower, I'm going to say, is Brad O'Grady, who's out now. But that's just based off of how he'd kind of just, man, he'd let trainees just make the airspace look all kinds of crazy, and then he'd step in and fix it. And there are multiple people that were able to do that at Columbus, because Columbus got pretty kicking. But he was just one of those.
In the tower, he could do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wait, it would just be like,
how big is the airspace?
When you going to reel this in, Brad? And then OG. Okay, so he'd like reel it in. This is how good this guy was, is he basically could get like every trainee. And he would say, oh, they only assign me trainees when it's time to wash them out, which is not true. I mean, if it worked out that way,
it's satisfying to say that. A lot of people say that.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But it was because he was super trustworthy. He knew what he was doing. He was confident, and he was like super reliable. So tower controller, Brad O'Grady, who's FA now. Oh. Then the RapCon is, I didn't have the pleasure of working with him myself, but his reputation alone, and just how if you're working the tower and you hear someone is just so fantastic that they're given just a lot of respect all around by all the ranks, you know, people working alongside him all the way down to the office, all the way down up to the tower people. And that's Brandon Patrock. So he's still in. Hopefully he stays in for a while, because I also think he's a fantastic leader.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
See, so I guess what I'm going to do this with everyone I interview, and then write the names down. And if I ever get important enough, I'm just going to put all these guys in a facility that I run, and then I'll finally win facility manager of the year off the back of all these people.
Oh, God. I can't imagine like all the best of the best, all different personalities in one room. Like every other base is on fire.
You just got all this golden egg. All right, most book smart. Who knows all the rules?
So, you know, if I wasn't gonna say Belford, because he does, he's a, you know how he is.
I don't want to admit it. He's smart.
And he knows that he needs to look into, so he'll learn it, and he's not going to give you a chance.
I just
to
think
be
of
right.
his stupid little shitty grin when he's like,
he's never going to give you a chance to be right over him. He has the answers to everything, and it doesn't even matter if it's air traffic, but just because he was air traffic controller, that's one of those things. So I only had a limited time with him, but even during that limited time, he gave me good advice, and he was a solid guy. So if I wasn't going to say him, though, because it's not strictly air traffic would be Sergeant Turner, and I knew him from Moody as well. But like, there are rumors that he did so well on his promotion tests that OSI was getting involved. I don't think that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised. He would literally be walking down the hallway with a .65
as
like
a 5
hard
level?
copy. Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes. So he knew his stuff. He knew his regs. Yeah, that would be the most book smart.
Yeah, that guy was incredibly smart. I was a tower, he was radar, but I just remember that was what everyone said about him. Mm-hmm. That guy knows everything. All right, item 3, best natural leader.
Okay, so I would have a hard time not saying, you know, Daniel Merlin for this, but I'm going to save that for another answer and say that Justin Salvion is a fantastic leader. It's his passion. You could see it. And you know, he just has great experience. He knows what it's like to apply resiliency real life. You know, he didn't have the perfect start to his career, and he'll tell you the story, but he bounced back, and he just like chased his goals like a bat out of hell. He was just super inspiring. That's why I went back to school and to start my master's, because I saw him killing it. And it kind of went from there. Like, this guy is doing everything, and people want to follow him, and leadership is a passion of his. I think he's doing a fantastic job as like a young NCO. He's the staff. And I think if he stays in, and if he stays enlisted, you're going to see a great chief. And if he goes officer, you're going to see a great commander one day. So
And he's the one that recommended that book, right? That we can't remember.
I'm so sorry. He's going to be both happy and pissed.
I picked you as the best leader, Justin.
I'm terrible memory.
Something you said there, you were talking about he's like very resilient, and this is kind of irrelevant to Justin, but someone said this yesterday, and I loved it, and I have to repeat it. But they were talking about the Air Force and taking days off for resiliency training, and I'm not at all saying it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. But most people really hate that because we all have a lot of work to do. And then some, I bet like weapons people or maintenance people are like, here's a 10-minute slideshow and I'll get back to work. You know, it's kind of just like blown over. But it's important to show that stuff. And that's not what I'm getting at. But what the person said was that they really dislike resiliency day, resiliency training, because who teaches resiliency training? It's usually the flight chief of your shop. And so the way the person put it, they said resiliency training, it's like you're being abused. And then you tell someone you're being abused, so they make you go to counseling. They ask you don't want to go, and then they make you go to counseling. So you're like, fine. And so you don't want to be there, but you go. You show up at counseling, and then the counselor walks through the door, and it's your abuser. And you just have to sit there and get counseling from your abuser. And that's like, he said it, I just was like baffled. That's so exactly like, yeah, as me as a senior in sale, like I know I'm tasking you with stuff and stressing people out and making changes and not following through. And I just get like the stress that you have and Uehara have and other people is because of me. And then resiliency day comes and here's how you
is something stressing you out? Something I'm not involved in whatsoever? Here's some advice.
It's like, wow, yeah, we should switch that up. Like you can't.
Yeah, no, I want to have the resiliency talk from the guy who's been in jail, who came back and who's killing it, or the guy who's
killing
just
people.
Well, he's just killing the job. Like the guy who's like
that's perfect. Anyone who watches the video, that was a complete accident.
Yeah, the guy that's killing it. The person who has actually, applied resiliency, like failing a PT test but coming back from it, or not letting it, just send you in a downward spiral. Or if it does, showing people that even in the downward spiral all the way to the ground, or what you find is a rock bottom, you can come back and you're just like, it can be done, guys. Like it happens. Everyone has highs and lows in life. Why wouldn't you bring that to the Air Force?
I agree. I had one of my really good friends at Offutt. I have a group chat with 9 dudes. We still talk every day, memes, life, everything. And honestly, if I had to like label what's most important to me in my life, like that group chat's it. It's these 9 dudes that fucking love me for who I am. We talk all the time, and I'm really grateful for that chat. I don't say it all the time because it's cheesy to say that. But there's one dude in there, and he's like 4 years older than most of us. He was a staff sergeant when I was at A1C. And he got in trouble for coke. I'll say it. He got in trouble for cocaine, got kicked out of the Air Force. And as he was going through that process, that if I put myself in those shoes, he was like 27 probably at the time. Mm-hmm. Like I couldn't, your age, like if you were getting kicked out for cocaine, how stressed out would you be every night, every day? Probably big time, right?
Yeah, moderately stressed.
Yeah, but this guy was still the same person. He was a 27-year-old staff sergeant. Now he's got airman basic on. He would still come up like into the cab. Hey, what's up, guys? Like he was just the same person. Like he was he spent I think 30 or 60 days in like the jail on base, but the dude was just so resilient, and I was like, he should be teaching resiliency. Now he's doing fine. He's got a job. He's got a family. Like he's good.
I want to hear from him.
Yeah, sure. Like how are you like this? He just was like,
what are you doing to kind of combat that? Yeah, that's who we should be. I really like that metaphor that they use though, and I want to know who it was because that was super clever. But you don't have to name drop them. I understand.
Can't. Maybe I will email her and be like, hey, my friend Keara, we talked about you for 3 minutes and she really wants to meet you. Can she meet you? I'll do that.
That's hilarious.
Because it's supposed to be like a private thing
in
that
totally
thing. So I can't drop her name or his name. All right, so that was good. We really went off on the leader one, but that was good. I enjoyed that. Nicest controller you've ever met.
So I said I was going to say nicest for Daniel Merlin, and that's just, I want to say nicest, but it's not to be confused with like, I guess a pushover, because I never found him to be that way. He's just whatever you need, whatever you asked, whatever questions you had, he'll always make the time for you. Even to this day, I could message him right now and that I needed someone to talk to, and he'd probably hop on the phone right away. Like he makes himself available regardless of rank, regardless of like what the subject is. And he's super funny and just incredibly nice, and super appreciative of him as like a mentor and just as someone I had the pleasure of working with at Columbus.
Daniel Merlin sounds like a guy I'd want to be around.
He's so funny too.
Yeah, that helps. More funny than you.
I'm gonna have to. Yes.
Oh, yeah, you would have been really conceited. No, I'm the funniest human. Is funny a category on this thing?
He's just so funny.
Did you ever meet? Sorry to cut Daniel Merlin off. Did you ever meet Jake Lewis at Moody?
Yes.
Dude, that guy is the nicest.
He is.
He is. And this isn't about me, but I could easily pick Jake Lewis for that category. To put it in perspective, for how nice this guy was, I'm gonna guess he worked at Chick-fil-A before he joined for, I'm thinking, 7 years, and so he joined the Air Force. Nicest guy ever, and his goal at the time was to get out and then own a Chick-fil-A. It's just like, you just know anyone.
I want to see that happen.
Yeah, I would too, and I would want to work for him at a Chick-fil-A just so I could be a nicer person.
I would be a loyal customer if I was in the area.
Yes, just to see Jake.
Yes.
Yeah,
I hope come true.
Yeah, I know he went FAA. I don't know where he's at, but I know he's somewhere in Georgia with a wife and kid now. But he got out. So, final question: you get to pick one controller that has to stay in the Air Force, can't get out, and follow you around for the rest of your career.
As you know, it would be wrong if I didn't pick someone who fully intended on getting out within months of this podcast. So I'm gonna pick Giovanni Arroyo. I think I would have just a blast if she and I got to PCS everywhere together. Her husband would hate me, but she hopefully would still like me. I think by the third PCS, even if it gets that far, she would absolutely be done with me. Just really just hate me. But she's just so funny. She is like a ray of sunshine every single day that I get to hang out with her. And she is capable and just of so much more than she knows too. And this doesn't have to just be Air Force too, but of course, because I'm staying in, I'd want her to follow me around in the Air Force. But when she gets out, she's going to excel at anything, whatever she decides to do. So I'm excited for her future. But selfishly, I would want her to follow me to every PCS so that I could just have that ray of sunshine. She laughs at my jokes. They're so bad. She laughs at all of them. That's all
anyone really needs. Someone to laugh at your jokes. Yeah, I agree. She's a lot like you, just a few years younger, very, very hard work ethic, just does things and
clumsy.
Yeah.
I am also clumsy. So just to give everyone context, a few days ago she fell into a hole.
I loved really fulfilling the whole airman concept. I love that meme.
Because we argued. We've had a heated, I won't say heated, we had a spicy debate on what whole airman concept is, and I told her the intent of it. It doesn't matter what the intent is. It's the, implementation that's kind of gone south in some areas. So in her experience, it's not a very fun conversation with whole airman being the topic. But now that she's fallen into a hole, she's encompassed whole airman concept.
Yeah, I was trying to get dinner with Josh Smith the other day. And so it was Wednesday, right? Or Tuesday? But I messaged him, like, hey man, let's go to get Korean barbecue. He's like, I can't, but can you take Giovanni to the hospital? And I'm like, what? I guess. What happened? Long story, she fell in a hole and she doesn't want to get help. I was like, all right,
no.
Coming.
She was like bleeding for 4 to 5 hours before finally she's like, yes, we'll go to the hospital. So, and thank you for taking her. That was super nice.
It was a very easy decision to make. And she's like, I have a diversity and inclusion project I have to do.
She's so stressed.
Priorities. So I'm really glad you picked her. I'm glad she came up because I had to bring her up for something. Do you remember anything important of yours in 2019?
Oh, 2019?
Yep.
I guess I would get in trouble if I didn't say my wedding.
Okay. Great answer. What about the second most important thing of 2019? And think of it from the Natsits perspective. Let me know when you give up.
Oh man, I give up.
Okay, so Giovanni, being the hardworking person she is, decided one day walk in my office, or however it came up, but she decided to help me build the new 1098s for people. So if you would open this top right drawer here, and there's something in there for you. There's actually 2 things in there for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
What's the first thing you see? Yep.
Okay, patches.
Yes.
Which is so awesome.
Yep, and
These
it's off your
so
logo.
Good. You should replace it. Just
this little mini one for when you come in.
I'll take that one. No. You keep this one.
But
that's awesome. I love that.
Before you flip that over, what do you think it is?
I'm scared. It's gonna be a write-up of some sort.
It's not a write-up, but you can look at it. How do you feel about it?
Oh, that's awesome.
We were doing your record, and she had yours, and she pulled those out. She's like, "What do I do with these?" I said, "You can give it to him or shred it." I don't know. What do you think she wants? And she said, "KB, look how immaculate this is." She's holding your 1098s, and I'm kind of looking at her like she's stupid. She's like, she's gonna want to keep this. I need to frame it.
This is something that I would do. And she put the sticky tape, the fancy tape all over it too. That's perfect.
Yep. And I was like, "How long did this take you to make?" She said, "Way too long."
No, this is amazing. This is actually perfect because that's my husband's name, and this is our deployment together.
Oh.
So we were on this deployment before I came here, obviously, and now we're apart for a year. So this is special. This is our year we got married. That's his name, signed, and I got pink, sparkly, sticky tape, and it is immaculate because it's him that signed all the way down.
So yeah, I don't talk to a royal too often, but anything we do discuss is always just how can we give you a prank? And we've got some ones that I think are phenomenal.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a big financial investment for the one that I want to do, but I think we're gonna come up with the funds.
That makes me scared.
Yeah, I wouldn't want it to happen to me.
Oh man.
And I would rather 18 poems insulting me happen than what we've thought of.
No. That makes me really scared. This is so cool.
Yep. So those are both yours too. I got those made, and they actually finished making them today. I literally just picked them up after I got my hair cut.
So what are you gonna do? You have extras of these?
I do. I got 30 of them. And the dude, when he gave them to me, he had a whole nother stack. And I was like, "Oh, aren't those mine?" He's like, "No, I made extra in case others." And I'm like, "Oh."
I hope you do. See, honestly, I'm gonna buy them all, and then when you go back, you're like, "Whoa, someone bought them." It's really just me.
Well, I'm not gonna feel that satisfaction now. I'm gonna go, she would waste $200 on a bunch of fucking patches.
You're gonna see them on places, on people's backpacks, and you're gonna be like, "Dude," it's because I'm like putting them on people's backpacks without their permission.
Some girl paid me $10 to sew this on. I don't know what the fuck it is.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I guess we could wrap things up. I am really glad that you agreed to do this. You'll be one of the first 3 episodes I release on my birthday tomorrow for everyone to see, with you, Chief Woods, Gene Tashida. My launch is I read a little podcast book, and it said, make sure you have at least 3 episodes before you release, so people don't just listen to one and then move on with their life and forget about you. So you'll be one of the first 3. I hope you're willing to sign this thing afterwards that you made.
Yes, I am.
And yeah.
I'm going to ruin the whole thing.
No. Any last words?
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me. It is super special that I was part of your top 3 or first 3 for the podcast. And I'm like shooketh because obviously you've talked to some incredible, like super accomplished people, and I'm just me. And I'm super excited to be on a podcast. I listen to podcasts all the time. I think it's awesome that you're doing a podcast. I think you're a great senior NCO. I could say you're my favorite senior NCO, but I think might hurt people's feelings in the facility. But for words of affirmation purposes, you're my favorite senior NCO in this room.
Well, good joke.
You're a great senior NCO, and I feel like you're a really awesome role model. I hope you keep doing what you're doing, and that I get to work alongside you again someday.
I really appreciate that as a words of affirmation guy. We've said this about you behind your back a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if you were my boss someday, and I would be happy for it. So, yeah, you usually don't want someone 3 years younger than you to pass you, but if you did it, I'd be pumped. So thank you for saying those things about me. I'm going to also put that on recording with the other thing and just listen to those 2 things, and we'll be set. But yeah, I really am. I'm glad you came here. You being top 3 was an easy choice. And everyone, this was episode number 3 of Have a Tisue Podcast, and goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening to Have a Tisue Podcast, episode number 3. Keara and I often talk, but never for this amount of length, and we rarely speak about leadership ideas. It was evident she had a lot to say about the subject, and this once again reminds me why this platform is so great. Without it, I wouldn't have learned from one of the most natural and likable leaders in the air traffic control community. I'm sure her and I will talk a lot more about leadership ideas going forward. KB, as a devoted member of the Words of Affirmation Love Language tribe, I really appreciated the kind words at the end of the show. To everyone else, I am depending on input from others to continue making this podcast a success. Please send suggestions my way. Things I can ask or things I should do differently. Leadership ideas you have that I can discuss with my next guests. The Finer Things Book Club is open to anybody who wants to read one book a month and have a discussion on what they took from it. Have a Tisue Podcast is still growing. My current platforms are YouTube, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and Anchor. If you're willing to subscribe, I'd be grateful.
She remembered the name.
Thanks for listening.
3 minutes later.
It's Turn the Ship Around, and I can't remember who it's by, but have you read it?
No, I think it was recommended to us on the book list. Like Amazon recommends things.
Yes.
I've seen it. I've seen it on
Turn
there.
the Ship Around.
It's got a picture
really
of a ship.
Good. Yes, it does. That's what I was saying. I
Yeah.
can remember it.
You should've said
I
that.
should have been like, what is it? It's ship. And then it kind of would have clicked, but nope. I had to remember it literally seconds after we put stop record. So
Cool.
I have it with me here if you want to borrow it.
Ooh, maybe. What do we got? We got 2 months left together, probably. But anyway, thanks again. I'll add this like either the beginning, probably the end, like after the music. It's like a little Easter egg.